This is the Final Whistle podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team.
The final score from the racecourse: Wrexham 4, Ebbsfleet United 1, matching Wrexham's best ever result against Ebbsfleet. And wow, that was a heck of a first half performance. The poor Ebbsfleet, who are promotion contenders, surely finished last season strongly, are unbeaten away from home, have brought in a couple of interesting players over the summer, were just absolutely blown away by a high press performance by Wrexham, a high intensity performance by Wrexham, a first half which I think virtually no side in this division would be able to deal with. Ebbsfleet completely swept away after Wrexham had made some interesting rotations as well. Jordan Maguire-Drew and Mike Fondop both making way, but front three that replaced them, Rakeel Pike alongside Stuart Bevan and Chris Holroyd, really was impressive. Holroyd from the very start keen to make the most of his second start of the season, just looked desperate to lead from the front to press. He was playing through the middle, and my goodness me, he really did get at Ebbsfleet's defenders. And in the 5th minute, you had his reward. Good work initially by Pearson, good first touch by him to feed it on. Rutherford picking it up and feeding it quickly onto the left hand side, and Holroyd did all the rest, cutting in from the flank, taking on Clark, and then from the edge of the area, drilling a shot inside the near post. Maybe the keeper Ashmore could have done better to push it around the post, but a great piece of work by Holroyd, who has really set the tone early on. Wrexham pressing so hard did mean that Ebbsfleet were able to just get in behind them occasionally, getting beyond the press, and they did have a chance soon after that goal. There was a stumble on the edge of the area by Brad Walker. The ball fell to Abu Adams, who smashed in a shot from 20 yards, which took a deflection. Lainton, wrong-footed, had no chance to react, but the ball, luckily for Wrexham, bounced the right side of the post, just wide of the left post, and away to safety. And then it was back to the pattern of Wrexham pounding Ebbsfleet, putting more and more pressure on a back four which absolutely couldn't cope, in all honesty. It was in the 12th minute, 2-0. This time Roberts doing superbly to win the ball and feed a ball down the flank for Rakeel Pike to chase. He ran down the flank, took on his man, nutmegged him, an element of good fortune as he took a little touch on the defender's foot, but Rakeel Pike was quick enough to run beyond him. Nice cut back by him, and Bevan around the penalty spot with an excellent finish, driving it across the keeper and into the bottom left corner to put Wrexham 2 up. And you know, you don't want to tempt fate, but by that point you were thinking, this feels over. Wrexham really getting at an Ebbsfleet defence which was reeling from the amount of pressure it was being put under. It surely was over by the 20th minute. Even the greatest pessimist could accept when Wrexham were 3 up. A long ball forwards. Now then, elements of controversy perhaps. Holroyd wrestling with a much bigger centre-back. I thought Holroyd fouled him, I've got to be honest, but the ref didn't give it. To be fair, the referee, Dan Middleton, was very consistent throughout. He was allowing physical contact and only really blowing when he really felt certain that it was a challenge which went over the line. So okay, maybe this was consistent with the way he reffed it. So the ref allowed Holroyd's challenge. The ball dropped loose. Bevan did really well again. Firstly winning a 50-50 on the edge of the D, then driving down the right hand side into the box and doing ever so well to pull the ball back into the danger area. And after that, well, what an extravagant finish. This one's a goal of the season contender, I'm telling you. James Harrison, in commentary, has now christened Rakeel Pike Backheel Pike, and it was one hell of a finish at the near post. Leaping, slinging his standing left leg up in the air and extravagantly flicking this home with the inside of his right. A tremendous finish. Pike now has scored 3 goals in his career, and all back heels or flicks. Backheel Pike indeed. I've just realised it was Harry Wright, our other commentator, who called him Backheel Pike. I feel awful now because it was a stroke of genius. But anyway, Harry, you've nailed it, mate, because Pike backheeling it again. Wow. Tremendous finish. After that, Ebbsfleet's heads had gone and Wrexham were piling it on. Walker tried a free kick from 25 yards which he put over the bar. There was a goalmouth scramble which Ebbsfleet just about managed to survive. By the 36th minute they made the substitution because they were being overwhelmed. They brought on Chris Bush, essentially a player who's played a lot of his career at centre-back and had a back four, which it was all players who have experience of playing in the centre of defence, as they just tried to repel Wrexham more than anything else. Walker then on the right-hand side, swinging in a ball to the danger area. It was headed over by Pike, attacking it 10 yards out. Holroyd also attacking it. I think maybe got in Pike's way a little bit and stopped him from properly getting on top of the header. 3 minutes of the half left, and Ebbsfleet actually had a moment of promise. A nice, patient little move. Bush feeding it to the edge of the area. Kedwell squaring it on, and from the edge of the box, Coulson probably should have done better. He was integral in the move as it worked its way up the Wrexham half, but his finish was rather wild as he slashed it over the bar, and Wrexham finished the half strongly. Pike with an attempt to recreate the goal he set up for Bevan, bursting down the right-hand side, pulling it back in a similar manner. And Bevan struck the ball well again, a diving defended it well to get a good block on it, because the ball looked like it might have been going heading across the keeper to nestle into the side netting again. But Wrexham were not to be denied. In the 3rd minute of added time, a free kick in the middle of the pitch. Summerfield swung it in. Pearson leaping at the far post just outside the 6-yard box. Not the best defending. There wasn't enough pressure on him at all, and he steered a straightforward header inside the right post to put Wrexham 4-0 up at half-time. Pearson scoring for the 2nd consecutive match. First time Wrexham has scored 4 goals since they beat Torquay in January. First time Wrexham has scored 4 goals in a half since January 2015, when we scored 4 in the second half against Stockport in an FA Trophy match. And the first time Wrexham has scored 4 goals in a half in a league game since, wait for it, March 2015. Hang on a second, I've got my stats wrong. Yeah, that was 2015, I think, as well. That can't be. 2013, I beg your pardon, against Ebbsfleet, of all people. So Ebbsfleet finding themselves for the 2nd time at the racecourse 4-0 down at half-time. Actually, in that game, they came back to 4-1 as they did in this one. The second half was a little bit different. The game was over. Wrexham had it won, and as a result they took the foot off the pedal a little bit. Why bother rotating when you can just have a second half played at half pace? In the 3rd minute of the half, Wrexham actually conceded. It was a nice breakaway, Weston bursting down the left-hand side, standing up across to the edge of the 6-yard box, and Danny Kedwell got up well and directed his header back across Laneton, who had no chance, and inside the left post to make it 4-1. And Ebbsfleet had a decent little spell there, just putting the Wrexham under a little bit of pressure, making the back 4 work. If they got another goal in the next 10 minutes or so, you might have just started to wonder if something frightening was going to happen, and there was a danger that Wrexham might lose a bit more control when Luke Summerfield, who was excellent in the middle of the pitch, had to go off after a challenge by Rance, which seemed to leave Summerfield with a cut head and earned Rance a yellow card. So Summerfield was helped off the pitch. Akil Wright came on to give Wrexham a bit more midfield stability, and certainly they rode that pressure, which wasn't too intense, to be honest, and was soon back in the comfort zone, like I said, playing a half-pace second half and being in control. Wrexham had another chance, a free kick lofted into the box, as we often see Pearson on the edge of the area backing in, shouts for a penalty as defenders came over the top of him. There were hands on him, but I'm not convinced there was enough to give the penalty. Bevan attacked it and drove the ball into the ground and back into the box, and then I think it was Holroyd just managing to pin ahead of the centre-backs and whipped in a shot which went just over the bar. Another moment of danger, and a corner was cleared to Holroyd on the right, who drove a nasty ball into the goal mouth. Ashmore fumbled it but managed to dive onto it in the 2nd attempt. And as the game came to a conclusion, Ebbsfleet pushing on had another opportunity. James Jennings, who had a very good first half but it got booked and had a little sketchy period of 10 minutes or so when first down the right Whiteley ran at him, and then Reece Weston when he switched flanks. Whiteley nutmegged Jennings and cut to the edge of the area, pulled a shot across the face just narrowly wide of the left post. Chris Holroyd went down hurt. Eventually he had to come off. Mike Fondop came on, and he had a lively end. You could just see that Fondop, having been left out, was desperate to make a point, score a goal and try and claim his place back, and he had a couple of good efforts. Once when he made a good block on a clearance to send it to Rutherford, who did well to feed it down the left hand side back to Fondop, running at the last defender. He took it to the edge of the box and then really made poor contact with his attempt to shoot as he slashed it well wide across the keeper. And then in the 3rd minute of added time, little moment of controversy, which Fondop wasn't too happy about. Bevan doing well to get a loose ball after Ebbsfleet lost the ball, knocking it over the top. Fondop, the victim of a linesman's flag. He was one-on-one with the keeper. The flag went up. I was dead level. I think the replay will show he was just offside. It was that tight. So frustration for Fondop, no frustration for Wrexham though. An absolutely tremendous, emphatic victory for Wrexham. And with the final score of Wrexham 4, Ebbsfleet United 1, have a listen to what James, Harry and myself thought of the match when we were summing it up on Calon FM.
This is the Final Whistle podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team.
A fantastic victory that was. The game as well, so it's overrun somewhat onto 5 o'clock, but a great win for Wrexham, a 4-1 win against Ebbsfleet. Ebbsfleet have never won here, and they knew after 20 minutes that they weren't going to this time, to be honest. It was 3-0 by then, the game was dead, and Wrexham put in a fantastic performance. We are still on air, Harry, but it was a fantastic first half performance, wasn't it? So absolutely tremendous stuff by them. Second half, we took the foot off the pedal, and that's perfectly acceptable in a way. What Sam Ricketts wants is like in-game rotation, playing the first half at higher density and then have a bit of a runabout in the second.
Well, we're rotating our pace in a way. Excellent stuff in the first half, as you said. Absolutely fantastic. No doubt about the game was over after half an hour really. The fourth goal in the 45th minute, just before half time, finished them off and sealed the deal. They did get one back, and maybe they could have got another one here or there, but at the end of the day, I think in the second half both teams knew that was the result, and didn't really push too hard for anything else other than what's currently happening. Wrexham tried to go for it themselves. I know Fondop certainly wanted to get a goal himself, but 4-1 was a good result.
Oh, it certainly was. It keeps us second in the table as well. Harrogate won at Maidstone, but a terrific ovation that you can hear for the Wrexham team as they walk off the pitch. Slightly maybe double take, because McMahon, the Ebbsfleet manager, is dressed identically to Sam Ricketts, black suit, white shirt, no tie, and he was walking in behind the Wrexham players clapping the Ebbsfleet fans, and for a second I was starting to wonder if he tried to steal Sam Ricketts' job with a sneak into the wrong changing room as well, having got the credit for the 4-1 win. But James, I mean, I just can't stop going back to the intensity of the first half. The press was terrific. Ebbsfleet had terrible problems getting out of their own half. They made mistakes at the back. It was a real front foot, high energy performance, wasn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, job was done after 30 minutes, wasn't it? And that intensity. Could we have carried it on? Possibly. Would we have needed to? No. And that's game management. It's wise game management. Perhaps they've come out that second half knowing that 4-0. All right, you wouldn't want to concede that goal, but it was just great to watch. It was absolutely domination by a team in red today on the racecourse pitch that we haven't been privileged to for a while, and it was nice to see. Ebbsfleet struggled with this 3 at the back formation that they've got themselves, and once they made adjustments, yes, it became a bit more difficult, but Wrexham, you just felt there was gears there to go if they needed to, and they wisely wound down those gears to, going back to squad rotation. Perhaps you don't need to burn yourselves out in a game that you've already won.
Yeah, absolutely. The second half, you can see Wrexham just took the foot off the pedal a little bit. Beg your pardon, but we're in total control of the situation. Just looking through, because Harry's got the tough decision of the man of the match. Maybe we'll preface it by looking at the sort of areas of the team, and the obvious place to start, Harry, is the players up front, isn't it, really? I mean, the front 3 that started, Pike on the right, Holroyd through the middle, and then down the left, Bevan. Well, as you pointed out, they were all on the score sheet after 20 minutes, and they did very well individually and as a unit. Well,
that's it. I mean, you want your attacking players to score goals or assist goals, and all of them did that today. Expertly done. I think the first goal sort of possibly gave the team the confidence. Holroyd, he'd made a couple of good runs before that, as early as you can do, because it was very early in the game, but then that one fell nicely to him. Again, I thought he was going to round the goalkeeper or do something, but he just sort of prodded it home the first chance he got from, not point blank range, but not that far away either. But and it was a great finish, and I think that sort of encouraged the team to do what they do best. And then the Bevan goal was fantastic, rifled into the back of the net, and then even better, Raquel Pike's just chaotic, crazy back heel. I can't wait to watch the footage of that soon. And to see them all just do exactly what Sam Ricketts would have wanted is wonderful. You say man of the match, you say, oh, it's difficult. And to be honest, I think I'm pretty convinced of who we're going to give it to. It's got to be Chris Holroyd for me, simply because he's come back in. He hasn't played at all, I think. Well, he's played here and there,
second start,
second start. So it's his first goal of the season. But just the energy that he had, he was absolutely up for it all day. He was chasing everything, and he was really giving it his all, and got a fantastic goal as well. He was dangerous all day, and as good as sort of Bevan and Pike and everyone else on the pitch were, I think Holroyd was the man who was sort of creating the most threat while he was on the pitch.
Yeah, interesting to see him giving that spark through the middle when Fondop's had that role to himself, and in pre-match we were wondering if we had a proper replacement for him. Well, he did, didn't he, James? I mean, not only did he score that 5th minute goal, but by the point he'd scored that goal, I'd already said to Harry 3 times, wow, you can see that he's desperate to make the most of a rare start. He set the tone, not only with the early goal, but also with the energy of his pressing, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He played very well today, Chris Holroyd. And the way he celebrated the goal, or didn't celebrate the goal, I wonder if that's a little bit of born out of frustration. And that's what I can do if you give me the chance down the middle. So, and that's a fantastic thing to say to your manager, is that I haven't had the start, I haven't played through the middle, this is what I can do, and sell yourself in that shop window to the manager. And he's answered it by a great performance. He's led the line well, he's rotated the line well with Bevan and Pike. All three got on the score sheet, which helps immensely, but all 3 of them were comfortable across all 3 positions, and Ebbsfleet just didn't know where to mark them, didn't know where to pick them up.
Absolutely right. Just to mention Bevan as well, who's impressed me since he's come here. Yeah. It was said that he was clearly not fully fit at the start of the season. And it's interesting looking at his appearances this season. First match lasted 57 minutes. Second match, half an hour as a sub. Third match lasted 56. And then after a couple of very short sub appearances, another start, which lasted 55. He wasn't fit to play 90 minutes, plainly. But in the last 4 games, he started 3 of them and played the full 90 in all 3. And that's encouraging to see. Maybe that Bevan is now getting to a point where he is properly fully match fit, and I think we're reaping the dividends. He scored 2 goals in those games as well and made an impact in midfield. Harry, I thought the midfield did very well, supporting that press and creating and moving the ball around swiftly. Walker was more impressive than he was at Braintree. He, as James mentioned in commentary, his confidence on the ball improved as the game went on. Rutherford's just non-stop all through the game. Some of his runs were very positive and progressive, and then I thought Summerfield just regulated things tremendously well.
Yeah, definitely. I think to have a fully effective midfield, you've got to have balance. If you have too many players of one variety, and I think we had this last season where we had sort of either too many defensive players in midfield or too many creative players, and it just didn't work and it wasn't happening. But now we've got sort of Luke Summerfield, who is that creative outlet. Some of the passes he made today, that one especially, where sort of was on the halfway line and just looped it around for Raquel Pike, was just wonderful. But then you've got Rutherford, who's the workhorse, the engine, to cram as many cliches as I can in. Obviously, he's a very talented footballer as well, but he's just relentless energy. You can't settle down for a minute when he's about, because he'll just chase the ball down all the time. And then, as you said, Walker, now I didn't see him at Braintree, but here today he was just sort of mopping up everything there and delivering things himself, and then getting forwards every now and again when required. So the 3 midfielders worked so well together because they covered all the bases.
Absolutely. And at the back as well, we were perfectly solid. Frustrating to let that go, and Lanes will be furious. 8 clean sheets out of 11 would have been a hell of a statistic. 7's not bad, but you'd be annoyed with conceding a consolation goal. But the centre-backs were strong. Lawler is a straightforward, attack the ball sort of centre-back, and he's fine. Pearson led well. Robertson Jennings got forwards well, although Jennings had those edgy moments in the second half after he was on a yellow, when first Whiteley on the right, and then Weston, when he switched over, caused him problems. But it was confident, it was comfortable, it was impressive. Wrexham with an emphatic home victory. We'll hand back to the studio with the final score of Wrexham 4, Ebbsfleet United 1.
This is the Final Whistle podcast from the Wrexham AFC media team.